Good day, everyone, and God bless all of you. My name is Dr. Alex British Chinedu Tasie from Ishopo Community, which is in Ikwere local government area of Rivers State of Nigeria, West Africa. And by the grace of God, I am a writer, a musician, a filmmaker, a football coach, a historian, and a multidimensional thinker. I am also a self-appointed, self-acclaimed president of the Nigerian semi-educated class and also is popularly called a professor of native intelligence. The topic that I want to talk about here is America and the headship and leadership of the world. America and the headship and leadership of the world. Generally, the world all over, people agree that America is presently the head and the leader of the world. People in the world generally agree that America has emerged in our today's world as the head and the leader of the world. So many people around the world too see America as the center of the world. The center of the world in this sense does not mean that America as a country is geographically located at the center of the globe, but that America has emerged in our today's world as the center of world commerce, the center of world power, the center of science and technology, the center of modern enlightenment, civilization, and development, the center of sports and entertainment, the center of renaissance, the center of almost everything, whether good or bad. That, of course, is the position that so many people around the world hold about America. And well, the indices and parameters are there for anyone who wants to know whether this claim is justified or not, or whether this claim is a fact or a fiction. But what is in the public purview is that America has emerged in our modern world as the head and the leader of the world. It is public knowledge that around the period of the 1470s or thereabout, that one Italian navigator and explorer called Christopher Columbus reached the part of the world that today we call America. It is public knowledge that Christopher Columbus, when he reached that part of the world that he called America, that he did not meet that place as an empty place, as a place uninhabited by human beings, but that Christopher Columbus, when he reached that part of the world, met the indigenous people of that area that originally owned that area that he called the West Indies or the Red Indians. And today, we call them the American people or the Native Americans. It is public knowledge that Christopher Columbus interacted and related with the indigenous people of that area during his expedition in that area. It is also public knowledge that when Christopher Columbus and his team arrived back, into Europe from their travels, that they told wonderful and fantastic stories about the newfound world. They told the stories of gold, silver, diamond, and other commercial commodities. And that, of course, naturally triggered and spurred so many people of European stocks to head the way of America, to emigrate into what we call today America and even Canada. It is common knowledge that it is because of the stories that those explorers told when they returned back to Europe that made so many people to be interested to go to the area today we call America to settle. It is also common knowledge that during the periods of the 17th, and the 18th centuries, that so many other people of European stocks also headed the way of America for the reason of commercial activity and benefit. That is the story of America. It is also common knowledge that when those Europeans settled, at that part of the world, that they needed, more people to help disvirgin this forest and open up the area for habitation. And of course, that prompted the need for laborers to come from all over the world. And of course, slaves were fetched from Africa, especially Black Africa, and taken into America. The Chinese, the Filipinos, the Indians also made their entries into America as early as at that period too. It is public knowledge that during the 18th century, about the 1770s and all that the document of sovereignty and independence, of the American people was ratified by the resolute and, conscious, spirit, the resilient spirit of the American people, to break off from the chain of political domination and colonization, by the British. So the American people had an ambition to be free from political shackles and oppression, from the British government. And that ambition fructified when America gained its independence. That is the history of America. Well, the crux of this discussion or this issue is that before America emerged as a superpower in the world, as a powerhouse, as the head and leader of the world, and also as a center of almost everything, that there had been some other great nations in the world that had emerged at different times in human history to become the heads, leaders, powerhouses, superpowers, and centers of almost everything in the world. Before America emerged, to be in the position that it is today as the head of the world, there had been some other nations that had emerged at various times in human history as the heads, as the leaders of the entire globe. America is just a country of yesteryears. America is just a recent, country. It is also important to note here that America is sitting, on the lands of other people that Christopher Columbus originally met and called the West Indians. The Native Americans, they are the people who originally owned America. It is also important to note the contributions of France, especially the French emperor called Napoleon Bonaparte, to help the Americans to become free people. And of course, some portions of France in the newfound world, in America, like Louisiana, was sold to the American people to help expand the territory of what we call today America. So before America emerged, other superpowers had also emerged in the past. And one of the countries that emerged in the past as a superpower, as a powerhouse, as the head of the entire globe, as the leader and center of almost everything, was the ancient Egypt. Egypt as a country in the past emerged as a powerful country. The power and fame and influence of Egypt traversed many corners of the earth. Many people quaked at the influence and power and height of Egypt during its reign time and epoch. So Egypt was a powerhouse, was a superpower in the past during its own time. The worst of their pharaohs were loved. Egypt enslaved so many nations and so many people. It is a fact that some of the cities in Egypt, like Aswan, Alexandria, and others, were built by the strength of thousands of slaves drawn and fetched from around the world. The Egyptians were also trailblazers in area of science and technology. The sciences of mathematics, medicine, physics, and astronomy, astrology, archaeology, all sprouted from ancient Egypt. The Egypt also invented a form or forms of writing called the cuneiform and the hieroglyphs for the world to copy and to relish. So Egypt was very influential during its time. It evolved as a powerful empire that colonized so many countries around her and subjugated them. Egypt was powerful. So many people visited Egypt to see their cities and to see their scholars that dished out enlightenment programs to the people of the world. In fact, what we call today civilization and material and human development emerged from ancient Egypt. So when Egypt fell, another country, not this time from Africa, but from Europe, emerged as the powerhouse of the world, as a superpower, as the center of almost everything, as the head and the leader of the entire world. And that country is Greece. Greece was a powerful country in the past. It exerted so much energy and influence. Its fame, power, and influence also traversed to so many corners of the world. Greece emerged as a powerful empire, as founded by one of its illustrious sons, in the person of Alexander the Great of Macedonia. The king carried out so many military expeditions, conquered so many nations and subjugated them. His influence also reached even as far as India. Greece conquered so many nations around her. Greece was also a center of learning. So many people thronged into Greece to have knowledge about the world because there were so many powerful, influential philosophers in Greece at that time, like Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, who dished out enlightenment programs to the people of the world. So many people came to Greece to see their cities and to see their civilization. Greece was also a trailblazing nation because some sports emanated from Greece. Today, those sports are found and seen in the Olympics, which of course the Olympics started in Greece. The Athenians and the Spartans were powerful expeditionary forces around the world because so many people hired them to help them carry out military campaigns. Greece was a powerful country. So many people trooped to Greece to worship the gods of the Greek people, like Zeus and Athena, the gods and goddesses of the Greek people. So when Greece fell, another powerful country in Europe emerged as a superpower, as a powerhouse, as the head and the leader of the entire globe, as the center of almost everything too. And that nation is Rome. Rome today is the capital of Italy, but at the time I am talking about, Rome was a powerful nation that conquered so many nations and also subjugated them, especially nations around the Mediterranean and what we call today in Central, Europe. The Romans even colonized the English people and subjugated them. And I think that the English people owe a lot of gratitude to the Roman people, because the Romans helped in framing and shaping the English people in the modern way they are today. So they owe the Romans, a lot of gratitude. The Romans also controlled so many areas in what we call Central, Europe. Their soldiers, the military of Rome was a powerful and awesome one too. Most of their kings were war generals, because they were very, very powerful. Rome was also a center of scholarship, because scientists and scholars like Galileo and some others, dished out enlightenment programs to the people of the world. And some people also thronged into Rome to see its beautiful cities. Rome was a powerful country. For a very long time in human, history, the Romans predominated, like the Greek people. The world faced a superpower, powerhouse, leader, head of the entire world. When the Romans fell, which I do not have the space here to talk about how the barbarians brought down Rome, other nations of the world also emerged. And mind you, before these nations that I am concentrating on as super ones, I am concentrating on these ones as pronounced world powers. But before and after all these nations that I have mentioned, other nations had also emerged as powerful, countries in the past. The Mesopotamians were very powerful. The Babylonians, the Hittites were powerful. The Persians, the Turks, the Moors, the Ottomans, the Barbarians were all powerful during their own periods in human history. So when Rome fell, about the period of the 15th century, some other European nations emerged as powerful nations, superpowers, world powers, health centers, and leaders of the world at various times in human history. The Portuguese were powerful in the 1400s. They were the masters of the seas. They were masters of the seas. The Portuguese. They were the best sellers and the explorers during their own time, and also were also great inventors, because they invented the sail ships that they used to sail around the world. In fact, many European nations owe a lot of gratitude to the Portuguese for helping to open up many areas around the world for European penetration, into far and near areas, for conquest, for business, and for all that. The Portuguese were great people during their own time. They emerged as a superpower in the world, well respected and highly regarded by the people of the world. Their presence was highly felt around the world. The Spanish or the Spaniards were also very, very powerful, because out of Spain emerged a powerful, empire that colonized so many nations of the world and also controlled them. Spain was also instrumental in some of the major explorations around the world by the European explorers, and all that. Spain was a powerful, rich country during its own time. It is interesting to know that most of the explorations, voyages, incursions into near and distant places by the Europeans of that era, were funded by the Spanish government. The Spanish queen, the Spanish king, assisted so much in helping explorers, to explore the entire earth. So Spain was a powerful country. The Italians generally were powerful during their own time too. In fact, during the period of the 1400s, the 15th century, the Portuguese, the Spanish, and the Spaniards predominated the world space as powerful nations, superpowers, powerhouses, centers of learning and all that around the world. They were very, very powerful. Around the periods of the 18th century and the 17th century, other European nations also appeared as powerful, nations, world powers, superpowers, heads and leaders of the entire globe, of which France and England, are those nations. The French people were very powerful militarily during their own time and reign in the world, and also the English that introduced the world into what we call the age or an era of industrial revolution. They were very inventive. They had innate abilities and capabilities, to do great things. Most of the inventions, that today have redefined the world, reconstructed, reshaped the world, were initiated, introduced by the English people, at that time. So the English had an edge over the French during those periods. But they were great people. And in fact, in human history, apart from the Romans and the barbarians fighting every time, the Babylonians and the Hittites fighting every time, in human history, especially in the modern time, the French and the British were the people who fought the highest number of wars against each other. They were always fighting, arch enemies, but they belong to one ancestral group, the Celts and all that. So they emerged as superpowers. The English ruled the entire world. Out of England, a tiny country, emerged a powerful empire that rules so many nations of the world and controlled them. The French also emerged as powerful people in the world that ruled so many nations and also controlled them. So they all ruled the world at different times in human history. Around the period of 1941, 1940, during the period of the Second World War, war broke out in Europe. That was Second World War. And the war, of course, was the reason why these two great nations were dethroned. Hitler, Adolf, a man that I so much respect and admire in the world, had an obsession. He had an ambition to permanently dethrone France and Great Britain, his arch enemies, disgruntled, dissatisfied, dejected, irked, umbraged, as a result of the consequential outcome of the Versailles, agreement of the First World War, of which France and Great Britain played major roles. Hitler now began to look for the opportunity to deal with the French people and the British people. The opportunity came during the Second World War, and if not for the late entry of the Americans into that war, Hitler, Adolf, would have accomplished or achieved his dream of humiliating, annihilating, demolishing, the French and the British. And of course, we know that the French were defeated, and the British were almost disgraced until the Americans came into the war, and the pendulum of the war spiraled to another direction, and Hitler and his Nazi, army were defeated. So after the end of the Second World War, two other nations emerged, and they are Russia and USA. And today, USA, the United States of America is having an edge over the Russians, because America is a country of the world. America today is not a single country like Russia, like Germany, like Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, France, and Canada and all that. America is not a single state. America now has become a composition of the world. America is a hodgepodge, a mishmash, an amalgam, a fusion of different races of the world who have emigrated into America initially for commercial activity and benefit. And today the nation now is transformed into a global giant. So America has emerged today as the world power, as the head of the world, as the center of almost everything, because the people of the world have made America that way. America is not a country of one nation. No one country can claim ownership of America. No one country can monopolize America. America is a property of the whole world. Even if initially the British people, the French people, the Europeans bought America from the natives, but for the fact that the whole world is in America now, giving its stake, and all its contributions to make America what it is, America has now emerged as a property of the whole world. America is not a property of a single nation or a single region of the world. And that is why the Americans are having the edge over the Russians. The Americans are also leveraging on the superstructures already laid down by the British, especially the language factor. The language factor, the Russians are limited because they did not colonize so many nations around the world during the age of colonization. But the British and the French did. And today, the Americans are leveraging on the superstructures laid by the British and the French. So they penetrate the whole world with this language. Already, America has emerged. America has emerged because the racists of the world have made America to emerge that way. America is not owned by anybody or any nation. America is a property of the world. Almost every race in the world today is represented in America. Almost every race in the world today is a stakeholder in America. Almost every culture is represented in America. Almost every language is represented in America. Almost every color of the skin is represented in America. Almost every faculty of reasoning is now represented in America. So America has emerged as the world. The world also has emerged as America. That is why when I see some countries like Russia, China, Japan, and all that, front at America, quarter at America, I see that they are not familiar with the definition of America. America is the world. America is owned by everyone. The blacks are there. The Arabs are there. The Jews are there. The Germans, the English, the French. Every part of the world, the Indians, the Chinese, the Russians, everybody is in America, in one country, bringing his quota, bringing her quota to make America what it is. It is not like China, that is a single country. It is not like Nigeria. It is not like England. It is not like France. It is not like Germany. It is not like Italy or Egypt, as single countries making efforts to see that they grow and progress. This one now is that the whole world is bringing its idea to make sure that America stands to become the greatest nation in the world. So today, America has emerged as the superpower, as the world power, as a giant, as the leader and the head, and the center of almost everything in the world. That is the case. In the climate that I come from, as an African, when a stranger goes to another person's land and buys a parcel of land there, erects a building, settles there, when that stranger dies, his remains or her remains will be sent back to his or her place for burial. That stranger cannot be buried in the place that he or she has bought. That significantly and qualitatively states that that person is a stranger. America is a stranger in that area. America is not the owner of that area. The owners of that place, that area, are the Red Indians, the native Indians that Christopher Columbus initially met. They are the owners of America. Today, every race in the world is in America, helping to develop America, helping to make America strong. The black people that came initially as slaves today are in America, helping the American people. And that is why in every segment, of America, you see almost all the people of the world being represented. Look at the movie industry. Look at the entertainment industry. Look at the scientific and technological areas of America. These things are being carried out by different nations of the world, different genres, different people, colors of skin that reside and settle in America, not by a single nation, not by a single race, not by a single people. And that is the edge over its competitors, because it has the channels, the conduits, the pipelines to disperse its ideas and products around the world as leverage, upon the superstructures laid down by the British and the French The French opened up the world. The British opened up the world. And today, America is a composition of these two main places. Even if the Dutch, have a stake there, even if the Italians have a stake there, but the British and the French dominate the history of America. So today, America has emerged as a superpower, as a global giant, as the head and leader of the world and the center of almost everything. What is good and what is bad all gushes out from America. America is a country of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Everything comes from America because the whole world is there, bringing their contributions, making their impacts to make America what it is.